Hello and welcome to Advanced Readings and Research in Church Music Philosophy and Administration. My name is Dr. Jessica McMillan, and I am excited to be walking with you through this course this trimester. I know that the course sounds like it might be a little on the boring end, but it is actually absolutely not. This is one of my most favorite topics to discuss and very passionate about, so I think that you'll enjoy it as we go along the way too. So this video is basically just to give you an overview of the course, talk a little bit about the syllabus since we are a completely online course. And so I just want to talk about a few things on the syllabus. If you've not already looked at that, you can find that in the Canvas page. And I really want to spend a little bit of time on page 2 of the syllabus. So this course will be set up like most of them that you have taken, where there is a module each week, and in that module there'll be a reading and a discussion. Each week the reading will not be anything that you need to purchase. It will be something that I post in Canvas for you to read. It's usually an article or a blog or even a chapter from one of the books that is on the bibliography that you might need to put in to your project of an annotated bibliography that we're going to talk about in just a minute. But you'll see that already this week in Module 1 there is listed an article for you to read and a discussion question for us to discuss on Canvas as well. So an overview of the course is that you do have a textbook, but this class is kind of unique because you actually get to choose what your textbook is going to be from a list of resources on page 2 of that syllabus. And so you might want to familiarize yourself with that. Your book review that you will do will be on a book from that list, and it's not due until week 5. So your midterm exam is not really an exam, but it's a book review, and you get to choose the book. And so if you have any questions about the books, I'll be glad to take questions. You can email me or text me, and I'll be glad to discuss them with you before you choose which one you want to purchase. So you'll have a book review at the midterm, and then for your final exam, it will basically just be a reflection paper discussing all the things that we're going to discuss throughout the course of this class. And then the whole class will culminate in an annotated bibliography of a minimum of 25 resources. And this may be the first time you've ever done an annotated bibliography, and they sound a little intimidating, but they're really not. So to do an annotated bibliography, what you'll do is there are several different categories of books that we'll look at and resources that we'll look at. You don't have to purchase these, but what you do have to do is research the book, see what it's about, find out what does it bring to the table in terms of relevance to our topic, and you'll write that into about a paragraph, maybe a little bit more. So it doesn't look like it's a lot of work, but there is a lot of back work in order to be able to narrow down the relevance of that resource to the field of worship. I like to call it a so what. So what? This book is good for what? And so you'll find that later in your life, when life is crazy and maybe you're teaching something or you're looking for a resource or you're looking for where did I read that information, you'll be able to go back to an annotated bibliography and you'll see in list form the books that you are aware of and what they bring to the table in terms of relevance. So you'll see on your syllabus that there are basically 5 areas that we're going to discuss. The first area is general worship related resources, and this is where you will choose your textbook from. It'll be under that category. Just general worship. What is worship, and how is it done? What are some issues in it? Not really specific things. I'm going to show you a few books along the way that you may want to consider as we discuss these various topics. So for under general worship related resources, this first book is a field guide to U.S. congregations. Who's going where and why? Very interesting book that talks about all kinds of stuff, but it's a lot of research that's already been done that you can look at, some empirical research. You can look at the data and see where we've been regarding worship and where we may be headed in the future. Another general worship related resource, this is one of them that you could choose for your book review. Very good, useful, practical book. Understanding, Preparing for, and Practicing Christian Worship by Segler and Bradley. Very good book you might want to consider. You can purchase this in the Kindle form, or you can buy it used for just a couple of dollars on Amazon. Another one that is on that list is by Harold Best, and it's called Unceasing Worship. And the premise of his book is very interesting because he says that even when people aren't worshiping, they're worshiping. People are always worshiping something. And so this might be something you might be interested in reading as well. So those would be your general worship-related resources. The next category that we will have on our annotated bibliography, your annotated bibliography will, like I said, have all 5 of these categories, and I'll choose a book for you to read in each category, and then you'll choose, to review, not read. Then you'll choose a resource or two to also add under that category. So the next category is actually gender. And this is not like liberal, that it's not, feminist, that kind of thing. These are things that are actually life-changing when you read about them. This is a required book for your annotated bibliography. Not that you're required to buy it, but that you are required to research it. Why Men Hate Going to Church. Very interesting research that has been done and that is in this book that talks about the feminization of hymnody, the feminization of the church, and why a lot of times men don't feel very comfortable going to church because it is feminized. So that might be one that you want to purchase for your library one day, but like I said, it's not required. The next category would be temperament. And on the required list under that category is this particular book, Teaching Kids Authentic Worship by Kathleen Chapman. And this is a very authoritative book. It talks about, it's not all about children. It looks like it is, but it's not. It talks about learning styles and intelligences and how to reach people and how to shape and create atmospheres for worship based on those things. Another one along those lines that is not required, but one that you might want to look at to put under that category would be this one, Created to Learn. This one is heavy on the multiple intelligences and the learning styles and how they play into the ability to connect to God in worship. The next category is multi-generational. And there are tons and tons and tons of resources. Right now, multi-generational worship is a hot button topic. And so I'm going to show you a couple of books for that. One Church, 4 Generations. And this book takes a look at the 4 living generations that are old enough to have been studied and that are still living. And it lines them up and talks about the things that have shaped their generation, the values of their generation, and how sometimes those things can cause a clash among people in a congregation. For example, why the little old lady says, "Don't run in church, spit out that gum, take off that hat." When the youngest generation there might wonder, what's wrong with running in church? What's sinful about chewing gum in church? And so this book addresses that and helps us think through issues related to that. Another one is called The Intergenerational Church, very much along the same lines, but brings a few new aspects to the table. Another one, The Multi-Generational Congregation. Interesting books. And the final category is multicultural worship. This is also another very popular topic in worship research related fields right now. And this book is called Worship Across Cultures by Kathy Black. And it talks about specific cultures and how some things that we do in worship might be offensive to some because of cultural norms, and it helps us to be a little bit more mindful of how we shape worship opportunities. Another one is called Worship Across the Racial Divide. Eye-opening book. If you're interested in multicultural worship, this one is a definite must for you. And then another one called Making Room at the Table, an invitation to multicultural worship. And so these are just a few books that I thought you might want to take a look at as you begin to think about creating your annotated bibliography. And of course, the most important book of all, Turabian. I know most students cringe at this book, but I will tell you that if you just learn Turabian, it's freeing. It is the standard in most areas of research, and just got to learn Turabian. So if you have any questions or concerns about any of these books or even Turabian, I'm one of those nerds who loves Turabian, and I love grammar, and I've spent a lot of time getting to know Turabian, so I would be glad to take any questions or concerns that you have about that. Also, I want to remind you that you are not required to purchase these books. You can use tools that you find on the internet, such as the Look Inside option. If you look for a book under Google Books or Google Scholar or Amazon or even CBD, wherever you find your books, many of them have that option where you can look inside and you can read portions of the book. You can get a good feel for what the book is doing and what it's bringing to the table. You can read other reviews. You cannot copy those reviews, but you can read them to get an idea of the direction of those resources. Like I said, if you have any questions about what an annotated bibliography is, I will be glad to talk to you about that. We can Skype if you're not local. We can meet if you are local. Also, in our Canvas shell, there is a sample annotated bibliography page. It's not on this topic, but I put one in there so that you could look at an annotated bibliography and kind of use it. It is in Turabian form already, so if you're uncomfortable with bibliographic entries in Turabian, you can look at that and you can copy where those periods go, where those commas go, what is italicized, what's not, and you can use that as a template for that. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, and I'm looking forward to a great semester.